Okay, our final talk in this session before a 15-minute Q&A period is Dr. Amy Fagan with a LEAG update. And before I turn it over to Amy, I might just remind you guys to enter your questions in the chat. Please direct it at a specific speaker if you have one, or enter it via the online portal that was linked in the chat. So please enter your questions for all of our speakers. And with that, Amy, take it away.
Thanks, Kelsey. Can you hear me okay?
Loud and clear.
Awesome. Thank you for the invitation to speak to you all today about what LEAG has been up to for the past 7+ months or so. I am the chair of the Lunar Exploration Analysis Group. I became the chair in September, taking over from Sam Lawrence. Next slide, please. I wanted to start off with a brief introduction of what LEAG is. It was established in 2004 to provide analysis to NASA on issues that come up in support of lunar exploration. So these can be things related to science, technology, commerce, operations, and they often have implications for lunar architecture planning as well as activity prioritization. So for example, some of the LEAG reports from specific action teams were used by the Artemis 3 science definition team, as Renee mentioned earlier. We're an interdisciplinary group. It's community-based, so it's made up of a rather wide-ranging cast of characters. We've got scientists, we've got engineers, mission designers, managers, and we're coming from very different perspectives in terms of academia, industry, government, and commercial entities. But if you take us all together, we as a group believe that an enduring and thriving human presence on the moon is critical for sustained human exploration beyond the moon. And we're working to help NASA achieve this. Next slide, please. Recently, LEAG has begun to place a greater emphasis on the prioritize the inclusion of and accessibility for the entire lunar community in various ways. So one of those ways was we established the first LEAG Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Chair with Dr. Kristen Bennett of the USGS. She's been helping to guide us on this path, and we're working through 3 main avenues to consider for supporting the lunar community in terms of what we can do, how we can advocate for certain efforts, and what services can we provide to the community. So one way that we started that was we updated the LEAG Code of Conduct, which was released at a town hall in January. And we're also working to normalize and encourage inclusive conferences, such as having live closed captioning, recording the talks and posting the talks, as well as having various methods for submitting questions. And that really is going to help that accessibility. We're continuing to discuss ways to increase inclusion and accessibility for the lunar community. But in the meantime, if you want to reach out, I've included Dr. Bennett's email here, and my email is on the bottom of each one of these slides as well. Next slide, please. LEAG provides various avenues for comment and involvement by the lunar community, and I'm going to touch on a few of those over the next 3 or 4 slides. Recently, we established a formal collaboration with LSIC, with our technology chair, Dr. Jose Hurtado at UTEP. So this was already alluded to as well. And we look forward to working with LSIC in the future. We also had representation on the Artemis 3 science definition team, as well as sponsoring a joint town hall with Survey in October to help facilitate community feedback on that report. And a few months ago, we held another joint town hall with Survey regarding the New Frontiers 5 and community announcement, and providing a space for the community to give feedback to Dr. Kurt Niebuhr, the program lead scientist, as well as to ask him some questions. Next slide, please. We all know that the decadal survey process is ongoing, but way back in 2019, in the pre-pandemic days, we highlighted the development and organization of lunar decadal priorities at the LEAG annual meeting. Although over 45 lunar white papers were submitted to the decadal survey, there are 4 official LEAG-sponsored white papers that were submitted that covered a variety of topics such as lunar missions, why the moon is a unique location to study, how studying the moon is really learning about the rest of the solar system as well, and why humans are a critical and important component of exploration. There's a lot of things that we can do that robots have a little bit more of a challenging time with, like dexterity. Next slide, please. The most recent annual LEAG meeting was held virtually in September of 2020 with the theme of the value of a sustained human presence at Artemis Base Camp. There were 22 findings from this meeting that went across 4 overarching themes of Artemis, sustainable exploration of the moon and beyond, diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. And then we also had a finding from the Commercial Advisory Board. Obviously, I do not have time to go through all 22 of these, so I'm just going to highlight a few of them that fall into that Artemis theme. Next slide, please. LEAG strongly supports the Artemis program and moving forward to the moon with humans. We advocate for ensuring a sample mass return capability for Artemis that is going to equal or exceed that of Apollo in order to adequately collect a diverse set of samples to assess the complexity of the South Polar region. This is also highlighted in the Artemis 3 Science Definition Team report. We also encourage the prioritization of an increase in time on the lunar surface, of enhanced and early mobility on the lunar surface, developing communication relay capabilities early. These are also items that are called out in the lunar exploration roadmap, particularly with robust communication, that is a strong need. We strongly support the Artemis 3 Science Definition Team and its report, which they were working on during the annual meeting in September. And we also highlighted and applauded the tremendous success of these workshops here, the Lunar Surface Science workshops. There has been so much participation from the community here, and I think that really highlights the excitement of the community in terms of returning humans to the surface of the moon. And so I think we need to continue to support these workshops, and I hope that they continue at a regular cadence. Next slide, please. We are currently planning the 2021 LEAG annual meeting. It will be held virtually. It will be August 31st through September 2nd. And the theme of this year's meeting is lunar science and exploration in the next 5 years. So we would really like to engage and showcase the early career community at this meeting. We're also going to plan to have various updates, as usual, from different stakeholders, and we'll continue to discuss and evolve LEAG strategies for the present and for the future, such as implementation of the Lunar Exploration Roadmap, as well as findings from previous annual meetings. For example, continuing to support Artemis, the Artemis Base Camp, the Volatiles Investigating Polar Exploration Rover, and the Commercial Lunar Payload Services, among other entities. Next slide, please. I also wanted to briefly highlight one of the unique entities of LEAG. That's the Commercial Advisory Board. We have a new leadership team for the CAB, for the Commercial Advisory Board, in Dr. Elizabeth Frank as the chair, as well as Raphael Spears in the role of vice chair and Sarah Dietrich serving as executive secretary. If you're unfamiliar with the Commercial Advisory Board, there are actually quite a few people involved with it. We have over 60 individuals representing a variety of different stakeholders that you can see some examples of listed here. The Commercial Advisory Board has been working to refine their goals, but overall they're there to serve as a resource to NASA and to the stakeholders. Opening lines of communication between NASA and the commercial entities, as well as just providing a forum for different parties to continue to support the pathway to the moon and beyond. Next slide, please. This is my last slide. So this is my wrap up of some of the ways that LEAG is continuing to serve NASA and the lunar community. And although it says lunar science community here up at the top, it's really just the lunar community. There are obviously other people interested in the moon beyond just science. We've got obviously the exploration, we've got the commercial entities as well. So there are a lot of different stakeholders who are interested here. We continue to serve NASA and the lunar communities by providing findings from the annual meetings. We also can provide focused and impartial analysis on topics when requested as special action teams. And again, these reports are really helping to guide our path to the moon. Renee also mentioned a couple times that some of those reports are being used by the Artemis 3 Science Definition Team, for example. We will also continue to establish and support avenues for the community to be involved and for voices to be heard. And I wanted to end with, again, reinforcing that we are working to prioritize the involvement and support of the entire lunar community and to pave that way to the moon and beyond. And that's the end of my last slide. Thank you, Kelsey.
Thank you, Amy. And thanks to all of our speakers for really great talks and for staying up